Hello everybody, welcome back to the writing vlog. If you're new to this series, welcome. I have been documenting my process of writing my first fantasy novel, nicknamed Project Moon, and I've been writing that since March, but in the last vlog you will see that I hit a huge snag in the story. I was basically at like the 60% mark when I realized that there were so many issues, so many plotting issues. Like everywhere I looked, I was like, wow, it's a mess. This is fine. This is fine. It was one of those days where I was like, maybe I'm not cut out to be a writer. And I legitimately thought that I was going to be shelving it. But then after a few days after like editing the video, I actually went back into the draft and I just like powered through the climax and then wrote the ending. So technically draft 1 is done. I'm going to have an entire separate video discussion where I talk about my whole process with Project Moon, what it was like to draft that frickin' book. Even though I started this draft in March, I have a long history with this book and it was very exciting to be able to get to the ending of the story. So I am going to save that whole discussion in a separate video. I decided not to vlog it because I was kind of like in a manic state and I didn't think that I was really in a mental place to vlog, which is why I didn't vlog that ending process. I think I've mentioned before already that I have been writing a new book. I started writing it at the start of July, I think, and we're currently in the 3rd week of July. So it's been about 3-ish weeks. I spent a week or 2 writing the outline and then now I'm about 10,000 words into the draft. I think that's what this vlog is going to be. It's going to be me starting to share a little bit of information about the new whip, which I'm so excited about. And I know that like every time a writer starts their next book, they're like, guys, this is the best one. I mean, I think every new book that you write, you learn new lessons, you get better, you evolve. I am so excited about this idea. It is really, it's so new and I don't want to like talk too much about it because like things are gonna change and evolve. I think like just where I'm at creatively and like really figuring out the types of stories that I love writing, this is the story that like feels the most like me, you know? Not that Project Moon wasn't the book of my heart, because it definitely is, but Project Moon was like the teenage book of my heart. Whereas this one is, I felt like while I was brainstorming it, all of the ideas were coming to me very easily. And even the process of starting this draft, like I've just been having literally the time of my life writing this, and it's not often that I sit down to write a scene and the words are just like flowing out of me. And I think that's a good sign, particularly with drafting Project Moon and hitting that climax point and realizing what all of the issues are with Project Moon. That was a huge lesson for me. Taking all of those lessons into this new book is something that I definitely kept in mind. I mean, I'm trying not to jinx myself, like knock on wood here, but I do think that I have a strong, solid skeleton for this story. And then the second major update is that I sent Project Moon to a beta reader, to my friend Emily. So yeah, I actually only sent Emily the first 50% of the book. It's more like 50 to 55% of the book. I didn't send her the whole book because the climax part that I like whizzed through during drafting is like kind of way too messy that it's not even gonna be worth me sending to a beta reader because I already know what all of the issues are. I don't really need to send her that part because it's not really gonna make sense to anyone but me. But the beginning part of it, the first 2 acts, I think it will be valuable to get a fresh pair of eyes on it because that first part of the book is where I really need someone else's input. I feel like I cannot see all of the issues with the first like 45,000 words. She's officially out there with Emily, my beta reader, which is like kind of scary because these characters have lived in my head rent-free for 3 years. No one has ever met them before. I've never shared pieces of this story before, and finally I have half a draft, half a manuscript out there with my friend Emily. I know they are in good hands with Emily, but it's kind of scary. Like, I'm really interested to see who's gonna be her favorite character, what parts she's gonna like, what parts she's not gonna like. I'm terrified, to be honest. I'm genuinely terrified, but also excited, of course. Also, if you are interested in keeping up with my writing updates a little more frequently, you can follow me on Twitter. These vlogs tend to get really backed up. I'm usually always like a month behind on my vlogs. So if you are curious, I update a lot on Twitter. So you can follow me there. And I also posted snippets of Project Moon on Twitter, like on the day that I finished the draft. That's all I have for right now. So I'm going to hopefully power through another chapter of the new whip. I haven't nicknamed it yet. So far I've been like writing pretty fast. Like, I've been drafting this book really quickly, which is crazy for me. I think it's been less than 2 weeks and I'm about 10,000 words into the draft, which is fast for me. I know that might not be fast for other people, but for me that's above average speed. Okay, today is July 24th. So this new book is also a fantasy. I think I definitely need to nickname it because I need to be able to differentiate between this new whip and then also Project Moon. So I will refer to the new book as Project Night because of certain plot reasons. A lot of the story happens at night. It's different from Project Moon in the sense that it's not as much of a epic fantasy. The entire book takes place in one city. I think the best way that I can describe the vibes right now is that it is a Filipino inspired jazz age setting, and I'm so excited. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this in any of my vlogs yet, but I've written a lot of like jazz age stories before. I've written a lot of stories about jazz, and I've just always been very fascinated by jazz history, especially jazz history outside of America. A short story that I wrote this year called Songs of the Era, which I have talked about in previous videos, that was also a story about jazz and jazz history. It's always been a motif in so many of the stories that I've written. So I'm very excited that I've found a way to kind of incorporate jazz into this new book. Like, I think it's going to be very exciting. Project Moon also drew from elements of Filipino mythology and folklore, and this book is also drawing from Filipino folklore, but in kind of like a different way, and I'm just really excited. And I've just been having such a fun time like writing this book. I think it's been like less than 2 weeks since I started drafting, and last night I hit 12,000 words. Genuinely, there was like one chapter that was kind of difficult for me to write, but other than that, a lot of the story is like flowing really easily for me right now. Like I mentioned, I learned a lot from writing Project Moon. That is really helping me figure out plotting and pacing for Project Night. Yeah, what I've been realizing about Project Night is that it really is just like me barfed onto a page in the best way. Obviously a big part about, you know, being like a newer writer is that you're still trying to find your style and you're still trying to figure out like what you enjoy writing. And even though I've been writing for like many years, this past year is like, it's been, I think from an output perspective, it's just been some of the most writing that I've ever done since I was in high school. And I think I'm like really finding my footing. You know, this is the third book that I'm working on in the last 12 months, and she's getting there. I mean, I anticipate that obviously later in the draft I will encounter issues, but so far, thematically and aesthetically, Project Night has come to me really easily, and it feels very unapologetically me. I'm having a lot of fun with the mystery elements. I think every story that I write is at its core a mystery, and this one is the most mystery that I've written. Thematically, there's a lot of contemplation on like colonialism and imperialism, and even though I am writing a secondary world, I am drawing a lot from Filipino history, and I've just been having like a really interesting, emotional, educational experience doing research for this book, because Filipino history is not something that I ever learned really. I was born and raised in Canada, and I think when it comes to like being second generation, you don't really learn a lot about the culture that your ancestors are from. For me, like as a second generation kid, like I have such a disjointed knowledge about like my ancestral roots, and I think so much of my writing recently has just been this like discovery process of getting in touch with that side of my identity that I've never had the chance to. So yeah, I'm feeling good about this story. You know what? I'm not even gonna hold back. I think this is gonna be a good book. I think this is gonna be the best book I've written yet. And what I'm trying to do more is to like not compare myself to other writers, but to compare myself to my past self. And relative to my past self, my writing is getting better.
Baby, I know what you're going through. I'll be waiting up for you all night. Don't think it's too much to ask for. I'm always gonna make sure you're alright.
Hi, hello. So last night I decided to set up a pacemaker project for Project Night. If there's anything I learned from Project Moon, it's that I don't want to set any hard deadlines. I don't want to like commit to anything, but very loosely, I do want to maybe finish the first draft of this before November. I'm not gonna like hold myself to that goal strictly, but that's kind of the vague goal that I have for this project, because why not? Even if I don't meet them, it's okay, but I think it would be fun. So that's the vague tentative goal that I've set. I'm kind of like iffy on word count trackers. Sometimes not be good for me mentally if I'm like being too hard on myself, but I did decide to set one up just because I want to be able to like visually see like the ups and downs of my writing days. Like I want to see which days I write a lot and then which days I'm a little bit less productive. And maybe that will also help me get a sense of like my routine. In mid-August, I have a lot less free time because I will be starting a new job. Because my routine is going to be changing, I just want to be able to like see if there are any patterns in my routine and if there's like a way that I can schedule writing in a more like that will accommodate my new routine. I will be spending the rest of the day writing. I want to get through chapter and a half today. It'll be 2 very difficult chapters to write. I'm like dreading writing them because there's just some chapters that you like don't want to write. But then the next chapter, like after that, it's gonna be like fun adventure. Also, I forgot to mention for Project Night, it's as of right now, it is a mostly dual perspective story. So there are 2 main characters and we follow both of them. The chapters go back and forth between the 2 of them. It's interesting because like after writing Project Moon, I just love writing multi-POV. I don't know if I can ever go back. So far I've been having like so much fun going back and forth between the 2 main characters. The 2 chapters that I'm hoping to finish today are the 2 chapters where the two main characters are meeting for the first time. I'm like, it's like kind of a difficult chapter to write because, you know, it's like a pivotal part of the story. It's a pivotal part of Act 1. Hi, today is Wednesday, July 28th. So I actually adjusted my word count goal on Pacemaker, and I've decided that I'm gonna include October in my drafting goal for Project Night. Originally, I thought if I like really buckled down, I could probably get through a first draft by the end of September, and then I realized that that was kind of like a psychotic goal. I don't think I could draft this book in a little over 2 months. 800 to 900 words a day, I can probably meet that goal, which is a lot more realistic for me than trying to write like 1200 words a day. I was having some really good writing days last week, but this week, and specifically yesterday, I was having like a really hard time getting through the chapter that I was currently working on. It's the chapter where the two main characters are meeting for the first time. So there's like a lot that I need to like figure out in terms of like what I want to include, but also I was just coming to a point where I was getting my descriptive language was getting really flat, which I think most writers can agree that tends to happen every once in a while. Like, especially when you're writing a lot, you can really notice when your writing is getting repetitive or just kind of, it's not really punchy, it's not really jumping off the page anymore. And I'm trying not to get like too caught up in that because obviously it's a first draft and there are just going to be some descriptions that are flat, but I'm trying to kind of like find my footing, I guess, narratively with what I want the prose to feel like. 15,000 words into the draft, so it's still nice and early. Off the top of my head, the things that I usually do to improve my descriptive language is the first thing I usually do is strengthening verbs and minimizing adverbs, because that's usually the thing that bogs down my writing the most. And typically when I'm drafting, like as I'm writing, I can be conscious of it, but sometimes that stuff just like seeps in like without me noticing, or because I get lazy. So that's one thing that I am trying to be conscious of. Another thing that kind of helps me is appealing more to sensory details. Like usually whenever I can come up with a description is more than just a character like describing their surroundings or what another person looks like. Usually those are also the descriptions that kind of like they have a little bit more oomph to them. I think it'll take me a few days to actually get through this chapter. We're about more than halfway through Act 1, which is exciting.
Don't think it's too much to ask for. I'm always gonna make sure you're alright.
It is July 31st. It took me so much longer to write the chapters that I was like working on like earlier in this vlog. It's been like a few days and I just finished chapter 7, which was the one that I was working on before. I don't know why it took me so long. I think I was just like, I had a very like strong idea of how I wanted the two characters to meet and like how I wanted them to like interact, and I was just like toiling over that for so long. And yeah, but now that we're done with the first 7 chapters in Act 1, I think we're like finally in the heart of the mystery for Act 1. I really like how the story is paced so far. I remember one crazy issue that I had with Project Moon was that I had a lot of issues with pacing. Like if you guys watch those vlogs, you'll see that I was like really struggling with Act 1 pacing, and it was like really slow. I'm pretty happy with the pacing. I'm not happy with my prose, but that's okay, I guess. Like I'm okay with having like unpolished, boring prose. I'd rather have that in the first draft than have a completely like incomprehensible, uninteresting plot, I guess. So I think this will probably be like a good place to end the vlog because I'm more than halfway through the first act, and I think in the next vlog I'll be able to reach the end of Act 1. I anticipate that August is going to be a busier month for me because I'm switching jobs, and I think I'm just gonna be a lot more busy with like work related things. So I'm trying to like, you know, get in a lot of writing over these next 2 weeks, and hopefully I'll vlog some of it, but we'll see. Yeah, I mean, other than that, I'm just like really happy with, I'm not like really happy, but like I'm okay with where the draft is at. I've been reading, so the book that I'm reading right now is The Chosen and the Beautiful by Nevo, which is literally, it's a Great Gatsby retelling, with Jordan Baker as the main character. And guys, oh my gosh, for those of you that don't know, Great Gatsby is like one of my favorite books of all time, and you say the words Great Gatsby retelling and I'm there. Yeah, that's the book that I've been reading at the moment, and I am just thoroughly enjoying it. It's so lovely. I'm only about like 30% of the way into the book, so we'll see how it ends, but so far I've been loving it so much. The prose, I didn't know what to expect from a Great Gatsby retelling that's literally also set in the 1920s, because I feel like that's also just like a really difficult thing to tackle as a writer. You know, you're kind of putting yourself up against Fitzgerald's prose, but I feel like it's really, I don't know, I think the prose are so beautiful, and I'm excited to see where the book goes. I plan to have a video up where I talk about all of the books that I read this summer, and so that wrap up, I guess I will talk about my thoughts on this book in that video, so you can keep an eye out for that. But yeah, that's the book that I'm currently reading at the moment, and the vibes of it are just so immaculate, and definitely like it's a type of book that like puts me in the writing mood like when I'm reading it, because it's just so beautiful. And as someone who has toiled with a lot of different ideas for Great Gatsby retellings, I think this Great Gatsby retelling is honestly just like really amazing. And I'm curious to see if like anyone else is going to try to tackle Great Gatsby retellings, because this is like the first one that I have seen be announced and be published, so I'm curious to see if anyone else is going to try tackling it, because I've also wanted to tackle Great Gatsby retellings myself, and I've had a lot of like trouble like landing on an idea that I really liked. I feel like the type of retelling that we see in The Chosen and the Beautiful is very different from like the type of retelling that I would want to do with the story, but it's so beautiful. I feel like if you are a Great Gatsby fan and if you are a Jordan Baker fan, you might really enjoy this book. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this little journey on this start of my new book. Hopefully we'll make some progress on this act in the next vlog. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.
You'll see